So Sandy, this is a really exciting day for us at John Deere in the UK. This is the first public show, and this is actually our launch event for our new high horsepower 9RX. Our 9RX 830 is stood behind me. This is the first tractor of its kind in the UK. It's the first one to touch our shores, being built in Waterloo, shipped across from the United States. We're really pleased and excited to have it here for our first public showing for the UK. Morning Sandy, I'm Jeremy Broach from John Deere. I'm the Strategic Account Manager. I'm just going to run you through a few of the highlights on our stand today at Cereals 2025. I think the best place to start, Sandy, is the world's most powerful full production tractor, the new John Deere 9RX 830. So this tractor is rated at 830 horsepower. You can see that by the sticker on the hood. But actually in the field, when this tractor's running and you make it work, it's actually putting out 913 horsepower. So if we want to start at the front, Sandy, we can do if you're happy with that. We'll pop the hood on this tractor. So I always think it's best to start at the front, but we probably should talk about the frame first. So it's the first time in Deere's history that we've used our JD18X engine. So this tractor is powered by our own 18-litre engine. So it's a good 4.4 litres, technically bigger in capacity than the 640 engine is at the moment. Obviously you can see out the width of the hood, mainly for the cooling pack, and then if you want to get a bit further in there and have a look, you'll see the engine through the back, but it's very easy to get to. I'm not going to take it apart now because she's ready for the show, but like literally like rubber bungee pulls, side panels pop off, you can get in there, easy access. There's a hatch there to get to your dipstick. Hopefully you don't need to check that too regularly. I think the beauty of it is, obviously we've got this much larger cooling pack, we've got the 18-litre engine. It's a total new frame design. So the 640, which we still produce, so the baby brother is still in full production. That is what we call a true frame design, whereas this tractor isn't. But the real key for me is that the external width, Sandy, is still 3 meters. So yeah, it's a huge tractor. It looks big, it sounds big, but yeah, it's still fine for UK roads. Front camera in the bonnet. So it takes a lot of, it's a Waterloo built tractor, so a lot of the DNA is the same, or very similar to 8RX, 7R, etc. But we'll take a bit of a wander around. So as I said, yeah, we're under 3 meters wide for transport width. If we're thinking about dimensions, you won't believe this, it's actually not as tall as a 640. Okay, slightly sits lower than a 640 at the top of the cab, which is the highest point. The only dimension thing that's different is the length of it. And I think technically it's something like 670 mil longer, as in the overall weight from nose to drawbar pin. So yeah, it is a bit bigger in length, but it's articulated. If you want to, as you brought up the topic of the States, right, we can have a look round. So we've got one setting for Europe, and I think from memory we're 88-inch centres, and the States go out a lot wider. Simply, Sandy, the way they do that is if you look right in there, you see you've got your ringer bolts. If you look at an American spec one, if they are out to the widest setting, there's just another piece in there. As simple as that. Same track unit. They might have different belts. There is some different belt widths in the States. We can't go any wider because obviously the extremity width. But that's all I do is put a piece in. I can't remember the exact distance, but there's a piece that goes in that side, obviously on both sides of the rear and on the front. So when you see them in the States, they will be pushed out a bit wider, and they could be running with a wider belt. I think that one of the key things to note when we look at the track units is this is 1.2 meters in diameter, so considerably bigger than the current 640 or the 640. So it's a complete new track design for this tractor. And you'll notice here, the eagle-eyed if you're watching, that we normally have 2 mid-rollers on the 9RX 640, or the smaller ones. This has actually gone up to 3. So the crazy thing, if we walk round to the other side, from a soil protection point of view, we're talking about a 37-ton tractor. Could be a touch more, we can put a couple of ton extra on it. You'll see here it's actually got extra ballast on the back here. So these two sections on both sides can be removed. We can also put a ton, what we call a chin strap weight, on the front of the bonnet. So right at the front where the bonnet finished, underneath we can put a ton on the bottom there. Okay, but the important thing, I think, when it comes to tracks and contact with the ground is, you got the 8 sat next to it, considerably lighter tractor, but the footprint's the same. Sorry, the ground pressure's the same. So the footprint on this, we've got 1.5 square meters on each corner of rubber touching the ground. So 6 square meters in total with the 4 track units. So the ground pressure that it's putting on the field is the same as an 8RX, which is phenomenal for a 913 horsepower tractor. If you look around it, you'll see that it's not a frame design. So with the current, or the baby brother, it is actually a frame design, whereas this tractor isn't. So it's a completely new design concept. The hydraulic pumps we missed, sorry, they're on the other side. Go back if you want to have a look. If you want to have a look around there.
Yeah, take a squint around.
There is actually, there was a camera on the front of the bonnet. There's actually another camera there. Comes up on the G5 Plus, so obviously for hitching on, you've got a camera there. The hydraulic pumps, sorry, it's not very in a very good order, but the hydraulic pumps are set here. Okay, so they're 212s, 212 litre a minute pumps, but you can run 3 of them. So technically it can actually put out 636 litres of hydraulic oil in a minute. Standard would be 1 pump, and the service interval on the hydraulic oil is actually 4,000 hours on this tractor, which is nuts. One of the big talking points for me really with the 18X engine on this tractor is this 0 AdBlue. None. You can't find a filler on it, it doesn't take any. Okay? So it's diesel only. So it looks like its baby brothers really, in effect. So a lot of there's complete commonality, whether it's the armrest, steering column, the massage ventilated seat that you're sat on, it is all the same in theory.
Yeah.
But this cab is totally new for this tractor. And the important really thing to note is the seat swivels, if you spin round, will it go any further? That way.
Oh, no, it does, yeah.
And then if you look down to the floor, Sandy, normally there's a lot of equipment gubbins in the way, paneling, where we'll have CPUs and controllers, etc. for the tractor, but this is actually floor to ceiling glass.
Yeah, visibility out there's incredible.
Well, it's important with a tractor of this size, right? You've got a wider hood than you'd have normally because of the 18X, the bigger cooling pack. And it's really important to get the visibility, obviously, when you're up here. G5 Plus is the same as it is in all the other tractors, 6-cylinder Manheim tractors and 7, 8s, 9s are all the same. And so's the corner post display. So you've got that commonality across the family, but it is a different cab. It's a bigger cab.
Just to make it.
Yeah, well, just to make the cab suitable for 900 horsepower, right? I guess one thing we haven't touched on is the new transmission on this tractor. So it's actually got an E21. So the smaller tractors, so the 8 series, for example, the 8RX next to us, we could have an E23 gearbox in it. This is a completely new transmission for this tractor, so it's actually a 21 speed.
Okay.
No auto power available. Probably argue perhaps wouldn't want that at this kind of horsepower, right? To try and put that much power through a hydro is going to be a bit of a challenge. So yeah, it's a brand new transmission for this tractor. It's the only tractor in the whole of our portfolio with the 18 litre engine and the E21 transmission.
Right. Okay.
Well, I guess large scale or XXL scale arable farmers, veg farmers, those sort of customers. I think customers that are perhaps running a 640 already that isn't quite performing to the point they want it to. So, you know, if you're struggling with the current implement you're running on the 640, perhaps people would look at this. Perhaps the implements can go wider. I appreciate it's not going to be as big a seller as a 6R250, for example, Sandy. But there's definitely a place for it in Europe. We have sold quite a few already across Europe. But I think the point to really remember is the smallest one in this range is a 710. Okay, you get a 710, a 770, and then the big boy, the 830. Physically, there's no size difference. So if you've got a 640, can't quite do the job you want to do, it's not performing to the point you need it to, from output per hour or acres per hectares per hour, perhaps the 710 is a suitable option. You wouldn't have to run AdBlue. But then once you get to the bigger tractor size, you need power. You need the power to the weight ratio to be correct as well to try and do the operation effectively. So yeah, I think that there's a place for it in the market. Obviously, the competition have got a 715 horsepower tractor out. Not too sure what the customers' views are on that so far. But with the John Deere 18X engine, the new transmission, this really is a game changer when it comes to like XXL farming. Appreciate it needs to be big. There is still some independent, UK-based manufacturers that make tillage equipment. Can they go a metre wider? Is everyone pulling their 7 metre top down, for example, as quickly as they'd like to up hills? They're all questions that customers will have, and perhaps the 710 is could be a suitable fit. I don't know if they are in general, in the round. Our Mannheim portfolio has expanded a lot, up to that 300 horsepower range. So we've got more options there. So there's a bigger sector of the market in that horsepower range. So these are unique, Sandy. Yes, it's bigger than ever before, but there's not going to be 50 of these a year running around the UK, is there? Let's be realistic. But I think you've got, there's large outfits, there's less operators, people need to get their jobs done quicker. We know how inclement the weather is on our maritime island, and there is a call, across Europe for higher output. And if we just go back to the 640 again, which is widely accepted in the UK and Ireland, this baby's only a bit longer, right? We're talking 2 foot longer. As I said to you earlier, it's not even as tall as a 640, and it's under the 3 metre road width. So they are getting bigger in power. It is bigger in power, but physically, it's no bigger. It's just a bit longer, and it's articulated, so you overcome that fact. But there is demand for it. People do still need to do deep tillage in certain parts of the UK, depending on their cropping system and their production system.